Okay, I think this is our cue to start. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emer. I'm the Managing Director of the Council of European Bioregions, a network of clusters, and I'm very excited to be here with you. This is my first time in Kraków this past 2 days, so it's been really nice to actually discuss healthcare and innovation and all these things that are very important to all of us, but of course see this beautiful city. So yesterday we talked about shaping the future and how we measure the outcomes of what we're all trying to create. And today we're going to talk a little bit about actions and what are the actions that us, all the stakeholders from a different point of view, have to sort of work together in order to realize what our vision is for healthcare and innovation and life sciences in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. But before we start all of that, we have experts who have kindly joined us to share some thoughts. And we would like to start with Magdalena Andrzejewska. I'm really sorry if I butchered that. The Director of National Contact Points for Horizon Europe here in Poland within the structures of the National Center for Research and Development. A very important role, we discussed it, and Magdalena will be with us in the panels throughout the day, so I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to discuss and actually pick her brain. So Magdalena, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to welcome you back to the second day of the LifeScience4EU Conference. I hope you had a stimulating and inspiring first day filled with insightful discussions, groundbreaking ideas, and valuable connections. As a representative of the National Contact Point for Horizon Europe at NCBR, an organization by nature focusing on the European R&I policy and also very much committed to the successful arrangement of this very event. I am really happy that we have this great opportunity to gather in Kraków under the auspices of the Polish Presidency to discuss the current challenges that undoubtedly emerge in front of the EU and its innovation ecosystem. Yesterday, an outstanding group of speakers commented a lot on current conditions and barriers that we encounter in shaping necessary solutions. We have heard about the length of some procedures and processes, about the lack of cooperation in certain fields, about the Chinese threat, and so on. But today is about action, as Tami has just said, and about looking ahead. We will talk about scaling innovation, closing the gap, and driving innovation forward. We are honored to have with us at this conference a diverse group of thought leaders, researchers, entrepreneurs, and healthcare professionals. Your presence and participation are what make this event truly special. Whether you are here to share your expertise, explore the collaborations, or simply to learn, we encourage you, especially today, to engage fully, ask bold questions, and think beyond boundaries. Please use this opportunity given today by the organizers to interact a lot with the panelists. And please recognize it. It's a powerful feeling that the work that we do here today has the capacity to eventually shape crucial systems and processes around the continent. Together, we are not just imagining the future of EU policy, we are actually building it. So thank you very much for your attention, and let's get started.
So you're absolutely right. We can talk about policy, but we have to talk about how we can implement it. And when we started discussing this conference with Kazimierz, it was LifeSciences4EU. I keep being slightly dyslexic. I keep saying LifeSciences4EU. So I think that's probably another perspective that we can keep in mind during today, that we want life sciences for you, for us, and how we can actually move forward. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker, From Vision to Reality, Emer, the Executive Director of European Medicines Agency and Chair of the International Coalition of Medicines Regulatory Authorities, to discuss a little bit about the future and the vision on health innovation innovation. So please join us on stage. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you for the warm introduction. And thank you to the organizers and, of course, the Polish Presidency for inviting me to talk to you, and particularly about how we, as the European medicines regulator, can contribute to driving innovation in the EU. Now, I'm here, I wasn't here yesterday, so I've only got the challenges from what you've introduced to me today, but I did have a little of a bit of a preview in terms of the survey that was done among participants. And I understand that you see regulation as one of the big challenges. It seemed to come out number one in two of the questions, and so you see us as the barrier to preventing innovation from becoming reality. So what I want to do today is to tell you that that's not the case, and I want to also I want to tell you how you make friends with us, because when you're the enemy, you're always the challenge. But, you know, once you get to know each other, you can become friends. And it's clear to me that we haven't become friends yet. So how do we, if we want to make friends, if you want to make friends with the agency, you need first to know who we are, what we do, and how you get in touch with us. So that's a little bit what I'm going to talk about today. So if we talk about the ecosystem, and of course I'm very much focused on the regulatory system, and we are responsible for the authorization and supervision of medicines in the EU. And just to be clear, we're not responsible for medical devices, but where there are interfaces between medicines and medical devices, then we have a role to play, and we have a role to play in a number of high-risk medical devices. So our job is to ensure that medicines are safe and effective for the 450 million European Union citizens. And how do we do this? We do this through a network of 50 national competent authorities from the 27 member states, which unite together to provide the expertise to support a single market for pharmaceuticals. We're actually headquartered in Amsterdam. We had to move to we were in London from the start. We're 30 years in existence this year. We started off in London in 1995, and then after the Brexit vote, we needed to move back to the EU, and we moved to Amsterdam in 2019. Now, we have, I'm responsible for the coordination of the expert resources for regulation and supervision of medicines across Europe, but my own staff are made up of about 1,000 colleagues, mainly doctors, pharmacists, vets, data analysts, business analysts, scientists, data scientists, administrators. So it's a vast network of different peoples and skills, and of course our mission is to support our European system and to foster scientific excellence in the evaluation and supervision of medicines in Europe. Now, sorry, I didn't move on. Yeah, okay, so let me look at it a little bit from our point of view. So what do we see as the problems that prevent vision moving to reality in the innovation space? And I'm talking about what we see when people come to us and start to have the conversation about how they translate their ideas into products that actually will get to patients, because that's what we want. We want the ideas to get to patients, and there are many steps along the chain of how an idea gets translated into a medicine for a patient. And what we see, particularly from the operators who are not used to operating in Europe, that there's a lack of knowledge of the European ecosystem. This applies particularly for companies and actors that are located outside the EU, but also within the EU, because a lot of the way we support innovation tends to be at a national level. So getting that to operate in a European level can be a bit of a challenge, and I think that's something that people underestimate. And of course, we're Europe to the core, so we have to take a step back and say, okay, well, if people don't know about Europe, how do we help them to get to know about this? The other problem, or the other challenge we see is that there's often very little familiarization with the EU regulatory space. So again, you know, if you're trying to move from innovation to patient, you need to be able to anticipate what the regulatory challenges might be, and that's going to save time in the end. So if you know that you're going to have to manufacture your product, you're going to have to scale up, you're going to have to manufacture in accordance with international standards, you need to be putting the steps in place at an early stage, because that's going to save you time at the end. And this is why I talk about lack of forward thinking. And again, I say this is something that we've also learned along the way, because there are a huge amount of research projects that go on at a European level that affect the pharmaceutical ecosystem, and in the early days, we wouldn't have got involved in that, but now with initiatives like Horizon Europe, IHI, we're getting involved in these at an early stage so that we can help to anticipate what the regulatory challenges might be. So it's very important that you do your homework about the regulatory system, and if necessary, bring in the necessary expertise to help smooth the process. So if I come back to my friend analogy, if we're going to be friends, you need to get in contact. We need to talk. And we're there, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you some of the things, some of the opportunities you have to talk with us, some of the early engagement opportunities. Now, before I do that, I want to talk about the EU pharma legislation. And I know there was a question in the survey about the EU pharmaceutical strategy and who was familiar with this. Less people than I would have expected, but anyway, this is what guides my life. Because it's such an important time for us to use the opportunity of a new piece of legislation, the learnings from the COVID pandemic, where we were able to accelerate our assessment processes. We were able to put in place big systems for monitoring the safety of the products that went on the market. It's a time when we have great strides in digitalization and artificial intelligence. So it's really about using all these opportunities to enable a simplified and more integrated regulatory system that will be easier to navigate for developers. And just to bring it back to the Polish context, so the last big overview of the pharmaceutical legislation was in 2004 when Poland joined the EU. And at that time, we went from 15 to 25 member states, but now we're at 27 member states. We have a further enlargement on the horizon, and it's a huge opportunity for us to use what's on the legislative table to simplify the structures and processes, to help reduce administrative burden, and to make the most of digitalization, which allows us to operate more effectively. Now, let me talk a bit about how we support developers. And we have a number of different frameworks to do this, and I'll introduce you to these in the next slide. But it's all about being an enabler and facilitating the path from bench to bedside. So to do this, we need to engage earlier. We need to work closely with the ideas that are coming up, and we need to work to understand what the challenges are from startup to scale up. And many smaller organizations need advice to do this. So we engage with other bodies such as the European Investment Bank, the European Institute for Technology, and we try to do some matchmaking if this is possible. Now, if the answers to the questions you have are clear, we'll tell you. But if the innovation is really cutting edge, we may need to look for these answers together. Sometimes it's not so black and white. Sometimes this is about really developing a solution, trying to figure out what it looks like in the future. It's not something that we have regulated in the past. So let me come back to the message, which I will give over and over again here. Engage often and engage early, because this also helps us understand the sort of expertise we need as a regulatory body to anticipate what's going to come, and that helps us plan and bring on board this type of expertise. Now, if I can talk about some of the different stakeholders that we work with. So I've talked a little bit about the types of support we offer. Now, let's talk a little bit about the who and the what. So here are some of the examples of different stakeholders and developers that we work with, including SMEs, medtech, academic developers. We offer portfolio and technology meetings. So if you want to come and say, I have a range of different things I'm working on, let's get an overview of them and let's see at what stage everything is. You can organize a meeting with us. We provide regulatory support for small and medium-sized enterprises through our SME office. We provide support for innovation in manufacturing through our Quality Innovation Group. We have an academic contact point, and we're building up an academic office. And we work with patients, healthcare professionals, and also with regulators across the world. We also work with health technology assessment bodies and payers to ensure that what we are doing in the regulatory space will help serve their needs too. So that's again about making sure that the products that are authorized will get to the patients in the end. So I mentioned the SME office, and 20% of the products that we authorize in Europe are developed by small and medium-sized enterprises. And because we know that SMEs don't have the same resources to deal with the complexity of some of the regulatory processes that are established by the legislation, we've set up an SME office. Now, to qualify as an SME, you have to be legally established in the EU, less than 250 employers, and there are limits on the turnover. But if you qualify as an SME, our SME office will offer guidance through the regulatory process. We'll help you liaise with other SMEs, with possible sources of finance. We'll give you regulatory contact points within the EU. We help smaller companies find their way through the centralized procedure, EMA requirements, and we also facilitate medicines developments and application. We also have there are also incentives and support for micro as well as small and medium-sized enterprises. We have SME briefing meetings, fee incentives, translation assistance, training and awareness days, and we provide partnering and networking. But you don't have to be an SME to get to know our Innovation Task Force. Our Innovation Task Force is a multidisciplinary platform which provides preparatory dialogue and orientation on innovative methods, technologies, and medicines. It's an informal dialogue with opinion leaders. We offer 1.5-hour sessions. There's no cost for this. It's brainstorming style on innovation in areas particularly those where there's not existing guidance. And we just ask you to fill in a short form, and then we will organise a meeting with you. So the types of products we're seeing coming through our innovation task force: cell and gene therapies, emerging digital technologies, organ on chip, new drug delivery systems. And again, this is about helping us improve and prepare for the future, and help us understand what the interfaces between different technologies are, and what the potential regulatory implications are. So if I look, our formal procedures then are the scientific advice and the qualification opportunities, and this is about advising applicants on the tests and trials that are necessary for marketing authorization. We have a new provision in our field legislation this year, so we can provide free advice for academic and non-profit organizations. But it really is the best way to get advice about what you need to do to register a product. If you look at the bottom of the slide, you'll see that if you ask for a scientific advice and comply with that, your chance of success goes up by 74%. And if we talk about SMEs, we see that almost 50% of the major objections that we see in the regulatory side are in the quality area. And these are problems that can be anticipated. So if you come and ask for advice, we can definitely help you here. The advice is prospective. We focus on development strategies, but we also offer the possibility for parallel scientific advice with the US FDA and parallel consultation with health technology assessment bodies. We also have, if it's about just a method, we can also provide qualification of new methods and biomarkers. Now, if I look at what we're thinking about now and preparing for the future, we have just published our European Medicines Agency's network strategy to 2028. There are 6 themes there: availability and accessibility, digitalization, AI, and data. Regulatory science and innovation, under which we're looking at transforming the clinical trial ecosystem, and of course a big push on driving digitalization from an organizational perspective. We have been working a lot on harnessing real-world data to inform us about the products that are on the market, but also to anticipate some of the challenges that we see, to look at the epidemiology, to look at the different disease structures. So we launched Darwin EU a couple of years ago. This is a federated data network which enables access to real-world data from the health systems. This helps to complement the regulatory decisions on medicines. We've done about 50 studies so far, and we're anticipating that we will be doing 100 studies every year. We use artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics to help improve our decision-making on our processes, and we're training our own workforce to use artificial intelligence and building a culture which is focused on the future. We really believe that digital innovations and solutions can help organizations like us in many ways, but they also must work for the patient. So we have to also look at the risks around this, the conscious and unconscious biases, and we're doing a lot of work on training and developing and development in this area. We see the European health data space offering huge possibilities to access a lot more data that can help inform the medicines development process. And as I said, we've launched Darwin EU, which acts as a pathfinder for the work envisaged in the EHDS. Now, if I want to speak for 1 minute on the clinical trials environment. We know that the biggest opportunity for medicines development in Europe is making sure that we have a robust and modern clinical trials ecosystem. And in 2021, we launched the Accelerating Clinical Trials in the EU initiative, which brings together the Commission, ourselves, and all the national competent authorities in the member states to really look at how we can improve the infrastructure for clinical trials, including decentralized trials, adaptive trials, and digital solutions. So the goal here is really that we enable better, faster, and smarter clinical trials, and we do this together with healthcare professionals, industry, regulators, academia, and member states. So finally, let me conclude with our vision. Our vision is a fast path from innovation to safe and effective medicines. We can be an enabler of innovation of medicines in the EU. We can help you translate that vision to reality, but you need to know that we exist. You need to know you need to come and talk to us, and you need to take advantages of the opportunities that we provide. We know that innovation at the moment is moving incredibly fast. We're here to support the goals of innovators in the EU, but also to serve the patients. So we need to make sure that we have the safeguards in place to make sure that the patients that get the innovation can be confident that they're safe, effective, and of high quality. So please do come and talk to us. Our door is always open. We can't be friends unless you come and talk. Thank you very much.